All right, we are back again, still with Learning Guide 6, and now we are moving on to sums of geometric series. So we're adding up now, summing up a bunch of numbers. So that's what a series is. So there are a couple of formulas we are going to look at. So now these are on your formula sheet. You don't have to really memorize them, but on my example here, I'm missing brackets, so I'm going to add a bracket because brackets are really important here. And a bracket there and a bracket there. I believe on the formula sheet they are on there. So let's put some brackets here. All right, so let's get into looking at some examples. So topic 5. Topic 5 is going to be looking at the sum of geometric series. And we are looking now for the sum of the 12 terms here. All right. The difference between this one and this one is the second one has a Tn in it. So let's sort of highlight that in red here. There's a Tn there. So that's your last term. So if you know the last term, you can use that one. But in my example down here, this example right here, we do not know the last term. So what I'm going to do here is I always write the formula down, and I'm going to do the S of 12, because that's what the 12 terms, you can sort of see it in the subscript, equals, all right, and I just write the formula out. So T1 bracket Rn minus 1 bracket all over bracket R subtract 1. Okay, so what do we know in this question? Well, we know that 5 is the T1. And we know the ratio going from each is we're timesing by 2. So we know the ratio is 2. And we know the n, it tells us right there, is 12. So now we plug and chug. So here we go. So we have T1 is 5 bracket, the ratio is 2. I would get in the habit of writing it in a bracket again because with negatives it really matters, but right now it doesn't. The n is 12, and then subtract 1 bracket all over bracket. The ratio is 2, and we subtract the 1. And then we type that into our calculator, and out comes 20,475. Okay, so let's look at one where we have to find exact answers in fraction form. So slightly different. Okay, a little typing mistake. I said find Sn. We want to find, it says right here, the 8th term, so I should have an 8 there. Let's put an 8 there. Okay, so let's use the formula again. So we are doing the S of 8 equals, now we know T1 is 1/12, and we are bracketing, and now we have the ratio, which is -3. This is where it's very important. You have to have that bracket around that ratio, to the 8, because 8 is the number, minus 1 bracket all over the ratio, which is -3, subtract 1, and bracket around that. So brackets are super important here, you guys, so pay attention. So here, let's count 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Good. The calculator likes even number brackets. If there's an odd number, it sometimes gives you an error. So if we type this into our calculator, we have -410 over 3. So there's the answer. All right, Let's move on now and let's deal with infinite geometric series. Now we know it's infinite because if you look at an example, let's just look down here at this example down here. See these dot, dot, dot? This series is going on to infinity. So there's an example where it's going on to infinity. Or if it says in the question, find the sum to infinity, we are using this formula. Again, you don't have to memorize it. You just have to know how to apply it. So again, brackets I forgot. I think they're on your form sheet, so make sure there's a bracket. Because in math, if there's two parts to a numerator or there's two parts to a denominator, you must have brackets. So I'm going to bring to your attention this little section right here. Okay? Because to find a sum of an infinite series, your ratio has to be between -1 and 1. It's very important. Because in math, we say that's converging. It's diminishing. Okay? So if it's greater than 1, and then we cannot find a sum. So we'd say no sum. Okay, so it's very important right off the bat to find the ratio. So let's look at this example right here. All right, the first thing is, let's find the ratio. Well, the ratio is, remember back earlier, the second term divides by the first term. So if we take 5/4 and divide it by 5, we will get a ratio of 1/4. All right. So is 1/4 between -1 and 1? And so we say yes, it is between that. So therefore, there is a sum. Okay, there is a sum. There is a sum now. If it was greater or less than -1, we would say no sum. Okay, so now let's carry on with the formula. So we have, I'm just going to write it down, the S of infinity equals T1 all over 1 minus R bracket. Okay, so what do we have here? T1 is 5 over 1 minus the ratio, which we just figured out, 1/4. We type that into our calculator, and out comes 20/3. All right. So I want you to try this one. Remember to pause and then come back and check. So the answer, if you did it right, is, I'll write the question out because it's not much to write out, 3.